Hey everybody, welcome. This is Dr. Levi. Welcome to our show. Today is Wednesday, April 6, 2016, here in beautiful Los Angeles. I hope and believe that wherever you are today, you're making it a great day. Before we get started with the show, I have to give major props to UConn. The ladies won 4 in a row. Super March Madness. You know, I go crazy during this time of the year, so I want to really shout out to them. Of course, the 3 seniors on the team there, Moriah and Brianna and Morgan Tuck. I mean, it was just a spectacular game. So I really think they have the potential of surpassing John Wooden's. You know, the men's team at UCLA, they've won 7 in a row. I think UConn has the potential to actually surpass that and do 7, 8 plus in a row. I think it's going to happen. And of course, to Chris Jenkins at Villanova, the 3-pointer on the buzzer. It was crazy. So, you know, it's just a wild week here in sports. You know, for myself, basketball, soccer, football, baseball, tennis lover, gymnastics. I mean, I just love it all. But sports like this just really bring me back to feeling just alive. So to UConn and Villanova, again, congratulations. Before we get started, I want to remind you that, you know, I really appreciate all of your subscriptions on YouTube as well as joining me on Facebook. Right now on YouTube, we had over, I think it's like 2.3 million views, which is like pretty phenomenal, you know, all by the grace of God. And I think our subscribers on YouTube is like 15,100 or 200, something like that. So our goal, as you know, over the year is to hit 1.5 million. I think it's going to happen really easily. That's the goal here. And again, our show, the Dr. Levi Show, is about you. It's for you. It's about reminding you to live a life of gratitude, to be in that place of unconditional expansion of your consciousness, and know that you matter, that you are worthy just because of the person that you are. No one has to validate you. You don't have to be a certain size, a certain fitness level, a certain look, a certain color, a certain race or religion. No. Just because you are you, that's enough. I want everyone to know also that the universe is conspiring for you, that the universe is for you. So if you believe and know that you create your life, well, if you're experiencing greatness and happiness, you're creating that. If you're experiencing lack and difficulty and stress and drama, well, you create that also. So look at your life and say, do I encircle myself with people and situations that make me feel good? Do I encircle myself with people and situations that I actually teach and learn from? So if you're the one always on the receiving end of the negativity, of the stress, of the drama, well, maybe look at yourself and look at those people and say, this is not working for me, or you are not working for me. So keep that in mind. And remember, as one of my mentors has taught me, Adele Hodge, and I love this statement that she gave me several years ago, and that is, sometimes when things in our life are not really going well, we have to look at them. And when we look at them, sometimes we have to let go of the good to get better. And sometimes we have to let go of the better to be our best. So I want to remind you of that. Look at your life and see what's working for you, what's not working for you, and then make the adjustments. Again, the universe, life is for you. Now, I want to tell you about our guest. He's someone who epitomizes the essence of integrity, of great work ethic, of physical fitness. He is someone who is about the excellence in the field of acting, because acting, if you think about it, acting is an art and a science. I think the art of science, of course, is being prepared and being ready so you don't have to get ready. The science of it, of course, is having your mind right and understand that if you go to 20 auditions and maybe get only one call back, then you keep knocking, you keep going. You know, one thing I've loved about having the actors on this show is that they really teach us the essence of fearlessness, of knowing that 1 rejection, 2 rejections, or even 500 rejections does not stop their passion for what they do. So we have actors on the show as well as directors, producers, and people in different walks of life, because they really remind us that you can make your dreams come true, that you are the director and the producer of your life. You're not the backstage here. You're not the gaffer. No, you're the complete role. You're everything. You're director and producer and actor. And I think this gentleman is about that. He reminds us that whatever our dreams are, continue to make it happen, and he does it in a way which is done with great class, great certitude, and more importantly, fearlessness. So I want to welcome to the show the awesome and amazing leading man, actor's actor, Mr. Jeff Bosley. Thanks for being with us, Jeff.
Thank you, Doctor. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Great introduction.
Well, it's you. It's you. I mean, you're humble, but you are the man.
Yes,
so tell us about yourself now, Jeff. Where are you from? Where were you born?
The short version. I was born in Colorado to an emergency room physician and a mother, stay-at-home mom. That kind of, my father being a physician doing the residency thing, as you know, kind of took him around. Yeah, took him around to various colleges, residency, etc.
Yes.
And that landed me pretty much most of my school years were in Idaho. So grade school, junior high school was Idaho. I tried football and I was okay at it, but I was still growing into my Ichabod Crane body, so I was not good at football.
Right.
I was actually still really good at. I was a good goalkeeper in soccer, and so I did that most of that. Toured around Europe in high school playing that. Graduated, went off to college in Washington State.
Yes. And what did you study in Washington State?
I did the freshman. The one of two things: you're either going to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Often that's the case
exactly.
too. Oh yeah, lawyer, doctor, engineer, accountant.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I was raised by a physician, so I was saturated in that world. He didn't push it on me, but I liked medicine, and so I went that route. But I was the guy that probably should have ironically joined the military out of high school to appreciate college.
Yes, even more.
And I went to college because you were supposed to go to college.
Right.
So I didn't do anything cool or party. I just don't remember much about college. I didn't do drugs. I didn't do anything fun. But college just was kind of this gray noise for me.
Right.
Did that for a while. Took a year off. Worked at a truck company. Realized, wow, college was really easy compared to this. So I went back to Idaho to get in-state tuition.
Right.
Went back into sports medicine. Did that for a while, and then that's where I actually brought theater into it, and I went down the double major route of medicine and or sports medicine and theater. 9/11 happened. Joined the Army.
Right.
Army got me out, was firefighter, and then fast forward to today. And
now, what was that like, the firefighting career now? You just said that briefly. So what happened there? That should have been pretty intense.
Yeah, it was after the military, and I might be one of two people in the existence of firefighting that ever resigned prior to retirement. Right. Because it is an amazing career. The schedule is amazing. It's very family friendly, despite the obvious risks.
Right. But
the schedule is very family friendly. It wasn't. I'm not an adrenaline junkie or anything, but it.
I am.
I mean, I enjoy. There is something I enjoy about those things.
Yes.
Like treating an emergency patient. Firefights, all those things.
Right.
But after what I had done in the military, in my special world, firefighting didn't fulfill that.
Right. Didn't bring it home for you.
And it was just where I got to the point in my life where there was a Jim Carrey thing floating around the internet, and one of his lines that just smashed me in the face was, "Don't live a life with fear disguised as practicality."
Oh, true.
And to this day, I have that Post-it note on my computer, and there was just one day, a trifecta of things happened. I heard that. One of my closest friends, she said, "What's holding you back?" And I said, "All right," and packed up, moved out. And that's why firefighting was so short-lived, is I loved it.
But it wasn't where your heart and where your
wasn't
passion
enough.
was.
There's not a lot of fires anymore. Firefighting is mostly EMS, and I respect it and enjoyed it. But I was done with EMS, and when we fought fires, I was where I wanted to be.
Right.
But those are few and far between.
Absolutely.
Any fire academy will tell you, if you're here to be a firefighter that fights fires, you're in the wrong job.
Right.
You're there going to be EMS with an occasional fire.
Got it.
Which is for the best.
Yeah,
obviously,
you don't want
if
a lot of fires.
if you're doing your job, that means a lot of things are wrong in the world.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, what about this, Jeffrey? How did you go from the fire? I want to hear about the transition with the military, because in the Army you were actually a Green Beret, and there are not a lot of those either. And you were a Green Beret medic.
Yeah.
So how did that go?
That is, it is admittedly a very, it's a statistical anomaly. It's a very small group. Green Berets, Green Berets I don't think have as good as marketing as Navy SEALs. They have all the TV shows and books, but that world, that special operations world, is small. And I knew since I was a kid, growing up, ironically, watching movies and all that, I wanted to do something special in the
Right,
military.
something different.
And I tried, like I said, I kind of beat the academic horse to death. And when I finally decided to join, I had to do Green Beret.
Yes. And why did you have to do it? Because, again, you had the feeling of doing something well beyond the standard?
Yeah.
Or was it that you just wanted to do something severe?
Both. It's this probably the same answer that you can't actually articulate why people want to climb Everest. It's there.
Or jump out of planes?
Yeah, it's because it's there. If if it didn't exist, I would say, okay, well, what's the hardest thing to do?
Create
Tell
something.
me the answer.
Yes.
What's hardest? And that's what was hardest. And I chose the branch of the Army, and that was one of the hardest in the Army.
And that was all inspired because of the happenings in 9/11?
Yeah, that I 9/11 was a huge turning point, but I still I like that Post-it note. I lived a life of practicality, and so I still held on to that fear. I was used to comfort,
Right?
Even though I went to college, I wanted to get school, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, dog, and it just got to the point where I kept putting it off, and finally it got to the point where I said, if I can't be much older as a Green Beret, I went in. I think I was 28 or 29, and that's pretty old to be going into basic training.
Right.
There are older, but I knew this body only had so much time before
it
that
gives up.
shelf life.
Exactly, it's over.
So that's where I wanted to go. They have it's, for lack of better terms, it's a straight to Green Beret program. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but you sign up for it and you must succeed at it.
And how many people usually start in a class like that? And how many actually get through?
I would say that like day zero of tryouts, there's several hundred, 300, 400, 500.
By the end of the week?
Well, the end of the course, that's the medical course. That's where it changes.
Right.
50 at the most.
And
that's the medical course is over a year and a half. It's one of the longest military occupational specialty trainings in the military. Is the
Pretty
medical.
Intense.
Yeah, because there's the cliche Green Beret stuff,
right?
Guns and explosives and all that stuff. But then each Green Beret team has a specialty, and each guy goes off for 9 weeks for their specialty. The medical guy goes off for 52 weeks for his specialty. So ours is
a lot, man.
Substantial. And basically, at the end of the day, a Green Beret medic, the motto is we're a shooter first. So we still do the tough stuff.
Of course.
But we're also, and then we have to turn off the light switch and become a medical guy sometimes. But at the end of the day, we are trained as surgeons, anesthesiologists,
everything.
Anything a hospital does, we should be able to do well, or at least somewhat competently for about a week without medical support, because we go in alone.
Right.
So
it's pretty tough.
It's crazy, and that's kind of why I love medicine. But I was also burnt out on it.
Absolutely.
So I was just so burnt out on medicine.
Now, what do you think was your biggest lesson that you learned from being a Green Beret? Because you invested a great part of your life in that.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from that?
Resilience.
Yes.
Going in older, and I had to rely more on the mental fortitude than I could just the
physicality.
Yeah, the muscling through physicality, that was painful, but it was the easy part.
Right.
The mental resilience, being old and older, and just kind of being used to a life of a little bit more comfort.
Right.
It was hard to switch to that. Going from academia and the normalcy of a wife and family and a simple existence to
that
eating when you do and starvation. I mean, the training is
pretty intense.
Can't be compared to anything. So it was resilience.
Absolutely.
Resilience.
Now, so you made the transition from Green Beret, firefighter, and then to actor.
Yeah.
So that's like this full circle of creativity and difference.
I opened. There was a book titled "If You're 6.5 feet tall with blue eyes, here's the jobs you should
have."
for
you.
Be a Green Beret, be a firefighter, not be an actor.
Exactly.
I was like, well, let's check the cliches.
Right. Because you've gone through two of them now.
Exactly.
Right.
What's next?
Right.
The brawny man.
Exactly.
Sell paper towels.
Exactly.
I knew as a kid, my mom and my father would attest to this. I knew as a child I wanted to be G.I. Joe.
Right.
I wanted to do it for real. Couldn't articulate this as a child, but I wanted to do it as a fake, and I wanted to do it for real.
For real life.
Got the real checked, and I was like, okay, now off to where it's fake. It hurts a little bit less, and the bullets are fake.
Exactly.
I knew probably if I could think back to my first conscious awareness of employment, or what you can do for a living,
right,
it would still always probably have been actor. If if there was a college for actors that guaranteed job placement,
It'd have been
I
for
would
you.
have done that in a heartbeat.
Right.
But the
And why? Why would you have chosen that? Because you have a father who's a physician.
Yeah.
You're a physician. You have your mom who's a stay-at-home mom, which is the hardest job in the world if you
Amen.
think about it. That's the hardest.
Amen.
So you have these incredible polarities here,
Yeah.
and yet you choose this road of extreme creativity,
Yeah.
which is to go there.
It is, and I mean, I'm surrounded. All my uncles are all
Right.
physicians. I'm surrounded by that, and
So
I'm
when you
still
go
very
home, you're the guy that's totally
yeah
out
well,
of the
yeah.
different.
And I wasn't the guy that came home drawing. I was still very. I'm my own worst dichotomy in that I'm very scientific and black and white,
Right.
and I love that. But at the same time, I'm trying to do all these arty
Yeah,
creative
very
things.
artistic things,
So
yes.
were it came from, I think my only cop out answer would be is I was influenced by TV.
Period.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, I was the guy that my parents. We were talking about this actually over this last weekend.
Right.
This was back in the day where they forced you to go out, play in the fields, don't go play
Right.
video games,
Exactly.
come back in 12 hours,
Exactly.
and come back alive.
Right.
But outside of that, I was just enamored with movies. You know, I grew up watching Stallone and Schwarzenegger, just going, oh my God, that's G.I. Joe on screen.
Exactly. True action heroes.
And there was just something about that, and it's basically, and it's playing pretend. I was the
Yes.
kid playing pretend to a fault, and I made a jet plane out of a cardboard box, but I didn't do that. I also had working joystick that I tied string to flaps that actually worked.
Right.
And my parents came back, and I just took everything to the umpteenth level of realism, and so. There was just something about wanting to emulate what I saw on TV, and then
To make you real for your life.
Yeah. And then when I realized, well, crap, that's a real thing.
Exactly.
Sylvester Stallone's a human that
Exactly.
makes movies, and
Exactly.
so I went practical, tried the impractical, terrifying Green Beret thing, and then I kind of went back to, like you said, the other,
Right.
a
Other
complete
direction.
opposite.
Totally opposite. Totally opposite. Tell me about your first play and the first theatric event that you had. Was that college? Was it high school?
It was.
Did you play a tree?
Well, there's two. There's two. I couldn't even do that right.
Right.
Like that tree's running around a
That
lot.
tree is running around too much.
My first one to memory is uneventful, but I was always wanting to. I feel like I was trying to. Technically, I broke the rules because you're not supposed to upstage people. But while there was something going on, this was like sixth grade or something. I played a court jester, and I had to cartwheel in and tell the king a joke. It was a Christmas play. I went to a private religious junior or grade school, and
Yes.
I rigged it so my pants would fall.
Right.
I had to steal the show.
Right.
So that was my first memory of actually being on stage, and parents were shushing everybody because they thought it was an accident,
Right.
and I won the day, and I thought that was a success, and I upstaged to the main actors and broke all the rules I just realized in retrospect. But
Which is a good thing.
exactly, it's all about competition.
Absolutely.
But I think my real first one was in college after my year off, when I went back to Idaho, and I finally said, just forget it. Let's just go for it.
Right.
Signed up for theater, and I auditioned for, since it was a collegiate program, they would audition for a lot of the shows, the whole season's shows, very quick early in the semester,
Yes.
early in the school year. One director had her first two shows, and she was casting for both of them. There was this one I'd read, and since I kind of grew up thinking of movies, I read the script before the auditions, and I could see it as a movie. I still hadn't grasped my theatrical
But you could
education.
feel that.
Yeah, I could see it as a film strip, and I wanted this role. I would have done anything for this role, and I kind of, to a fault, that's how I'm with everything. I dump everything in that role.
Right.
And then they said, well, she's casting for two plays, so you got to audition for both. I was like, okay, whatever.
Right, you do.
And then they said, go audition for the other one too. And I did them both, and I got the role I really, really wanted. And they
Right.
said, well, you also got the role of Sir Studley in her other play.
You got
And
both.
I said, her other play. So then I was like, I better look into this. And it was a musical. I respect them, but I hate them. So I was like, crap, I better start reading up on
Right.
this. I'm playing Sir Studley in this musical.
So you got to
and
sing and dance and
sing
act.
and dance and act. And then I found out also they had the opening scene of this play. My first experience in theater ever was on stage. I had to learn ballet.
Oh my goodness, man. Good luck.
I'm not knocking her, but that was bad casting on her part. She should have cast a male that has ballerina experience.
You didn't
not
have
a,
that.
Not a guy that just lifts up heavy things and sets them down.
Right.
So that was my first experience, was learning how to do ballet. The whole tights, a lot of male exposure, it was, and every time we rehearsed, I was like, whatever it took took to get the role
You
on
were
the
gonna
other
do
play
it.
I wanted. I was like, I will muscle through Sir Studley to go play Andy Gorski in this Christmas play I
Right,
wanted. So
right.
that has pretty much been my template ever since.
That's-
Whatever it takes.
Now, what about your parents? What do they think about you making this paradigmatic shift from firefighter, Green Beret to actor? What
my
did they think?
my poor mother. I think,
Really?
I mean, think about it. Your mother, like, oh, he's a college guy, and okay, he's going to be a Green Beret. Great. Now things shoot at him. Oh, great. Now he wants to be a firefighter where
Right.
things are on fire. Now he wants to go do something that doesn't pay any money. Like, or my poor mother. So they've always been just morbidly supportive of me.
Always.
Fortunately, my father, he came from the generation where he should have been the type of father that just literally, or depends on the generation, metaphorically or literally beat into you what you will be growing up.
Right.
And fortunately, he didn't. I mean, he wanted normalcy and some sort of reliability in my jobs,
Right.
but he never was like, you will be a doctor, you will be this. He
Never force fed you.
Yeah, there was an urge to do practical things,
Right.
like a physician. And college equals job equals money, retirement, dead.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In that order.
And so they were for it, and they, at the end of the day, like I just saw them again this weekend, and they still see especially the Green Beret thing, and when I talk about acting stuff, they see that the payoff of of how happy it makes me
Right.
is worth it. So that, I'm not a parent, but I think that satisfies that urge as a parent to go, okay,
Right.
he's happy.
Because they see your passion that you have
Yeah.
about what you've chosen.
Yeah,
So
and
they're never disparaging, always uplifting.
Yeah, obviously they're always doing the parental thing, saying, "Are you okay? What did that job? What did Days of Our Lives pay you? Can
Right,
you eat?
exactly.
But at the end of the day, they just see how just childishly happy it makes me,
Which
and
it should.
Yeah, and it does, and and as difficult of a job as the Green Beret thing is, it's not exactly what you'd compare to being childish, but
Right.
I will say I was childishly happy doing that. There were
Right.
times where I was like, I can't believe this is
That
my
you're doing
job.
it. Right.
The whole, doing this for my country, but also protecting people that can't protect themselves.
Absolutely.
It just had a cool feeling to it. And
Absolutely.
it's the same underlying tone, no matter what the job is.
Right.
So they've been with me, but God bless them.
Absolutely. Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. My sister went the practical route, college, degree, job. She's a nurse practitioner,
Right.
again, medical field.
Right. The whole family's in
Yeah,
medicine.
they're all
but you,
just
very
doing it.
interesting.
I'm the black sheep that's
Absolutely.
also a foot and a half taller than everybody.
Right.
Every picture with the family, any sort of family reunion, it looks like I was photoshopped in, or I like photobombed it. Like I
Really?
was the guy
Just
walking
jumped
down
in.
the street and just
Right,
waved.
right.
Like I look like a special effect with all
Right.
my family pictures, but. Yeah, I'm the random guy, but at the same time, it's weird. My dad's an ER physician, and we can still shoot the breeze about
About medicine.
intubation techniques.
Right.
I'd give him quick tips. He'd give me quick
Right.
tips, and and so the things we could talk about and relate about is obviously they're not going to talk to me anything about acting.
No.
That's just like no.
Right.
And it's your family. Your family. I think that's the one thing about acting with your family and friends is weird is that they will always see you. I think you almost want to trust strangers' assessment of you
Right.
versus your family because they'll always see, oh, that was just Jeffrey.
They want the good.
and
Right,
they'll just be
right.
like, and I told my mom I'm actually producing a film now, and she goes, well, what is it? I was like, well, I told her, she goes, well, I want to see it. I was like, nope, you will not want to see
You
this.
will not want to see
No mothers can see this.
Right.
So it's just a weird.
And what
family.
does your sister think about your choice? Because this is a major, acting is not like what people call a gig. You just do it when you want. This is a life
Yeah.
that you have to choose and say,
Yeah.
I am going to do this through blood, sweat, and
Yeah.
sometimes through tears.
Yeah, I think for me, my sister's the same as my parents. She's actually my younger sister, but she sometimes plays the older, mature role.
Right.
There's been a weird role reversal. There was this
Right.
shift about her turning 13 where she all of a sudden became my
older.
my elder.
Right.
But I think for a lot of both my parents and my sister, it's mostly they handle it. But they're also, I think that they handle it great and they're supportive, but they also see how I do these things. And it's slightly atypical in that I live, eat, and breathe. And as you know, since we've met, oftentimes to a fault. And I think that's where their quote unquote concern comes from, not so much from the cliche concerns a family or loved one would have for somebody suffering in the city.
Right.
It's that they know me suffering through the city with the normal stuff is cake.
Right.
That's a joke.
Right.
It's just they see what I put on myself or how I'll handle or the exponential level, I'll take it. Then they worry because like, well, we know how Jeff will do it.
Absolutely.
And that worries them.
Absolutely.
So that's...
Well, I have another question for you about that is, how do you handle the stresses of being an actor? Because actors don't work all the time. But when they work, they really work.
Yeah.
So how do you handle the downtime when you've gone to auditions, you've been rejected, they say, yeah, we like you, but you don't have you're too tall, or you're too short, you're not fit enough, or your arms are actually too big. Well, no, you know what, we like you, but we don't want you to look like this. We want you to shave off all your facial hair. How do you deal with the internal stress of rejection like that on sometimes a weekly basis?
Yeah. And that's where you're saying, I think for me, I can see when you said earlier about like science and art, I've since learned, I get that this world and this business is very art-based.
Very.
But I've almost prided myself on the fact that I see at the end of the day, this is a business.
Yes, it is. It
hurts when I say, like you said, I very often I don't get a role because I'm too tall. There's just too much stuff, and casting people that are equal height, dealing with Apple Box. There's like, oh, just get the shorter guy that looks exactly the same.
Right.
So I get the rejection, but it's almost placated in that I get that it's business.
Right.
It's there's nothing, 99% of it is there's stuff that you might not even know about. That casting director might have had a bad day.
Absolutely.
It might be because you're too tall. You looked at him weird. Your eyes are blue. Your arms are tattoos, whatever. And so I deal with that stuff, especially the rejection stuff, partially because Army and military and firefighting, you better have thick skin, especially the worlds I was in.
Right.
So that numbs me to that rejection stuff. But then anytime there is a rejection, especially if I have just my heart set on something,
you really want it.
I can turn it off pretty quick in that I get it is a business.
Yes.
This is just like anything else. A plus B equals C, and that puts food on producer table.
Absolutely.
That puts food on direct. Sucks if the actor's not getting food on his table.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I look at it. That's the thing that gets me through it. Is it's a business, and I will treat it as such. I'll put the heart, the art, and the passion into it. But when there's the downtime and the rejection, I'll treat it like a business and just work relentlessly
to make it happen.
So
now, what do you do to stop yourself from maybe spiraling down an abyss of depression or stress about it? What I want to know, I'd like you to share with our audience, with maybe young actors who are listening and looking, to tell them what they can do to, number one, believe that they are worthy. Number two, deal with internal stress. And number three, keep on going when the world seems like it's actually against you. How do you keep pushing through?
I think, and I have a very good friend in Colorado. She's kind of like my young sister actress person I want to protect and put my wing over.
Right.
She, I would say, is on the huge left extreme, so full of heart, so full of passion that when she gets here, she'll be crushed.
Right.
And I just want to punch everybody in the face that dares crush my friend.
Right.
But I think the thing I want to tell these actors is where they're better is that they let that passion just saturate them, but also that I think creates a weakness and puts them at risk for just being crushed and, like you said, stressed and just and all that and just wanting to just quit. So I really think they need to look at it. And it sucks because it's the weirdest thing is that when art and business collide, it's the hardest thing. And I think that's where, if I could go back to Colorado Film School, where I got to get a lot of, some of my first acting gigs. Right. If I could go back there and teach or speak to a class, I would just say, know when to turn art on and business off. Right. And if the day you're feeling bad about yourself, go, pause and go, put it through business eyes.
Absolutely.
And that will kind of numb the pain.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, don't get so jaded and crass that you become just a walking machine of business in Hollywood. Right. Because then you're not doing it for fun. Don't lose the kid that wanted to grow up pretending for a job. Right. And that's the thing. And I think I'm not doing it right, but I think I have this weird ability to on-off switch that childish kid thing and that relentless Hollywood producer brain. Right. And turn them on and off as needed. And it's rare and it's hard, I think.
But do you find that in the midst of rejection that you find yourself being more creative and more entrepreneurial focused about doing it yourself? Saying, okay, if Hollywood can't give me this, then I can make Hollywood work for me in this way.
Yeah, and I think that's where I could be better, and I know other people do it well, is that, they create their own content.
Absolutely.
Obviously you can just YouTube anything.
Absolutely.
And if that satisfies you, find the way to purge, if it's some weekly YouTube TV series or if it's just painting, because that's the thing about Hollywood is the kid that wants to grow up to play NBA, he can go grab a ball and a hoop and get his fix.
Absolutely.
Obviously it's not the NBA, but he can get his fix. The thing about Hollywood, it's not like I can go, nowadays anything's possible and anything's considered entertainment, but it's not, there's no parallel of shooting hoops in your driveway with
Right.
Hollywood. If you want to make a big budget feature, you can't just do it with yourself and a camera.
No.
There's always something. And so find whatever that might be. And for me, fortunately, whether it's, for me, I think it's the combo of the gym and fitness stuff that kind of neutralizes that off time, if you will.
Right.
But also for me, the off time is also in a weird way, it is the same thing that fuels me.
Yes.
So that off time is actually my fuel.
But do you use the off time also to go within and find out what do you really want? To ask yourself the questions of who am I? What do I really want? What are my true passions? And how can I make my life work for me?
Yeah, and I think that's where I personally need to be better at that, because you do everything a bajillion miles an hour, you're
Right.
going to burn out. And
this is
you're-
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood is like
Yeah.
that.
And you're going to lose. You don't need to kill the thing you love.
Right.
So there's a fine line between, I think, being intensely passionate about it and obviously, I don't want to say it's a competition, but it is being the one that's still going when everybody else goes, oh, I need to go to the beach for a week.
Right.
You know, do you truly need to rejuvenate your soul? Or are you looking for an excuse because you're having a moment of weakness?
Right.
And that's where I think my military background helps me assess, am I just being weak? Or do I truly, and that's where I'm at fault, since you've known me, is that I need to genuinely go, am I weak and do I need to recharge my spirit?
Right.
Or am I being weak and lazy?
Right.
And I definitely toe that line a lot. And I think my artsy friend in Colorado, I think she's probably better at going, oh, I need to rejuvenate my spirit because she's more efficient.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
it's
right.
the whole quantity over quality thing.
Right.
You know, I could shotgun blast every audition in the city, get 200 in a year. But if I'm barely functioning, you know, I could think I'm a decent actor all the day long. But if I'm exhausted, it's
not gonna
pointless.
work.
So
Absolutely.
Again, I hate the proverbial balance.
It is balance. It's really, I believe,
Yeah.
living in that place of moderation and knowing that, okay, you don't want to be here or there. You want to be right in
Yeah,
that center,
yeah.
because then it is balance.
Yeah.
It truly is.
And I think everybody, from what I'm noticing, especially since I'm trying to be a little bit more assess my balance,
Right.
is everybody's balance is slightly different, you know.
Because everybody's different.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people think, well, every weekend I should go to the beach. And I think people get into a pattern and kind of forget that sometimes balance, it's not always 50-50. It might be 70-30 for a while, you know,
Exactly.
and especially, and that's where I think I get a little bit more militant about it, is that my balance can be a little bit less recharge time.
Right.
And still be productive, where I don't feel every weekend, you know, I work on the weekends or whatever. And I think people need to realize balance, to me, it implies some 50-50 scale.
Right.
And that's not the case.
Not all the time.
Is if you can have a great hour of meditation or just a good movie or at the beach,
Right.
and that rejuvenates your next 6.5 days,
That's a good thing.
so be it. It doesn't need to be this 1-to-1 ratio. And
Of course
I think
not.
the militant side of me has definitely embraced that.
Absolutely. Now, do you take time to go to acting classes? And have you thought about taking time to form an acting group whereby you can actually teach some acting, and teach basic acting skills?
I have a couple classes I want to take. I admittedly have been riding off the coattails of, I think, a very astounding instructor I had in college. And I mean, I do a lot of self-study, and I'm so analytical. But I know at the end of the day, you always need to be studying.
Always.
Medicine. You're always
Always.
recertifying.
Yes.
I mean, so I'm not even saying anybody is self-taught. That's baloney. Right. So I need to be more proactive as far as actual classes attending.
Right.
But I'm always studying. I'm always reading. I got a lot of books. I found my quote unquote style that jives with me when I was in theater. So I think the theater background has helped. But actually, just as of recently, I've tried to acclimate myself to trying to go, okay, well, like you had just said, ironically, try to produce some of my own content to get that fixed. So I'm trying to find my version of the basketball hoops in the driveway thing. And some friends and I are actually trying to produce our own, or we are producing our own. We got some people to put the money out. So I'm telling them how to produce it with their money.
Right. Which is a good thing.
Yeah. And our own content, so we can get our fix, get our thing that Hollywood wouldn't make for us.
Right.
So I'm just currently doing that right now, and so it's satisfying to kind of like I keep comparing it to that basketball, shooting hoops in the driveway.
Very much so. And I really think that the overall genre of Hollywood respects those who put out their own content and not simply waiting to be signed up to say, oh, pick me. You're saying, wait, I'm going to pick myself, and I'm going to do this, and here you go, Hollywood. Take it or not. This is great stuff.
I think
that takes courage also.
Oh, yeah, and I think that shows Hollywood or whomever is on the other side of the decision-making process. I think, outside of a look or an aesthetic, they want to work with these people.
Absolutely.
I mean, you hear enough horror stories of people you don't want to work with.
Right.
So why not show them that you have the work ethic? And, you might be, I think it was Will Smith that said something like, I might not be the most talented guy on the set or in the room or in Hollywood, but he goes, I'm going to be the hardest working.
Absolutely.
And I've never met the guy, but he also seems like one of the nicest guys. So talented or not, you can compensate. And I think that's a huge thing that Hollywood appreciates, especially with the self-producers, if you will. It shows, like you said, it shows courage, it shows fortitude, it shows some sort of initiative.
And determination.
Yeah.
Not just waiting to go to an audition, but saying, I want to audition myself. I'm going to make this happen myself.
And that's the thing is, the little thing, one of the few things I know about the city is you can't just sit. I mean, I would kill to be sitting at Cafe Med on Sunset and have George Lucas trip over me and go, I like your foot. I want you in the next Indiana Jones. I would take it. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I would say, no, sir, I want to suffer for 10 more years. I will take it in a heartbeat. Or I'll be jealous of the guy that does get it.
But you want to make your life happen.
I will appreciate the journey, I guess.
Now, what about this? What would you tell actors who are listening and people in general how to avoid the auditioning couch? What will they do to say, you know what, I'm not going to go down this road and do this for this one shot and still not have access to what I really want? So how do you avoid that?
I think
that's a big deal here.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And I think one of the things a lot of people need to assess about themselves is, and none of this I mean to sound like I'm on a pedestal, but are you doing this as a hobby or are you doing this
as a lifetime passion?
Is this what you want to know you tried your best to do? And the thing that I appreciate about when I was doing pre-med is I knew when I got my college degree and I went to medical school, I would become a doctor, and odds are I decided to find an opening, I would be practice as a physician.
Pretty much.
Thing about this is obviously it's not that way. There is no guarantee. There's no 1-to-1 ratio of time put in equals time out. And so I think step one.
It can actually be inversely proportional sometimes.
Yeah,
more you put in.
Inverse.
Exactly.
And I think that's the one thing I would have new, fresh actors, no matter what age, assess is really assess what you want this to be.
Right.
One, is this a hobby, something you want to dabble in? Do you have another income? Do you have a spouse that's supporting you so you can kind of dabble in it? Or me, I kind of created a life where I have to do this. This is my job. I'm very fortunate. It's thin, but I'm very fortunate that I'm not a bouncer. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not a bartender at 6 bars. So,
which is nothing wrong about that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Correct. And I'm correct. And that's what I'm saying is I'm willing to have this be my job. So that also puts a level of not intensity to the need, because I have to put food on my table.
Absolutely.
Keep that I want to do it as an art. And then people need to make that assessment. And then inside of that assessment, is it a hobby or is it a thing you want to die knowing you tried to do?
Right.
Within that, assess what do they want to do. Like you said, the couch scenario. Right. Some people call it branding. Some people call it typecasting. Do you want to act or do you want to spread your wings?
Absolutely.
I know I'm a 6.5 foot tall guy covered in tattoos with a decent young blue-eyed boy face.
Right.
I know what roles I could probably get a lot of jobs acting in.
Right.
Do I want all of a sudden try to stretch myself and be some nerdy college professor, Stephen Hawking guy? Odds are I'm not going to get those roles. So
Correct.
if I'm going to confine myself to that, I'm not going to be working.
Right.
So you need to really, truly, have a no BS assessment of what you want to do, what's offered, what exists, and will you get cast as that?
And who you are.
And who you are. Yeah, exactly. Who you are, what you have to offer. So, I know some people that want to get all artsy and creative, but then they're like, well, I haven't acted forever. I'm like, well, what about that one job that was perfect for you? They're like, well, it didn't fulfill me. And I was like, well, do you want to act?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you look at, I don't mean it's zero disrespect, but Jean-Claude Van Damme's, all these guys, they're still doing what they love, even though they're doing the exact same movie.
Right.
And I'm not knocking that.
They're
working actors.
Yes, they are.
That's the thing is they're working actors. I'm not ever going to fault that.
Right.
And I think there is quote unquote typecasting, but at the end of the day, there's also knowing what you're good at.
Right. And I also think too, when people say typecast, I've always thought for me, typecast also means typecast for success.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the same thing. You might be doing, but every time you do it, you get better and better and better at it.
Well, even a perfect example is as far as a business standpoint, I look at like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Yes.
you could, by definition, he's typecast, but he's actually gotten better. Like if you look at some of his first movies when he came out of WWF,
remember that?
He has gotten much better as an actor.
Absolutely.
But he's still quote unquote doing this. Not quote unquote. He's still doing the same roles on paper.
Physical role.
Yeah, but
he's a better actor.
He's a better actor. He's enjoying it. There's still fun movies,
Absolutely.
and he's found his niche. He's getting better within that niche.
Absolutely.
He'll branch into other stuff, but obviously because of his physicality, he's not going to be playing the college professor unless that's part of the
or
shtick.
the Tooth Fairy, which he did.
Exactly.
Right.
Which was a little, that's again stretching it, but
he did it.
There are a few, and those. He's one of the guys I think I model my answer as far as looking at stuff as a business. Is he got what he had to offer and wanted to be great in that side of the pie.
Yeah.
There are those rarities where you could get like the Johnny Depps, the Robert Downey Jr.'s, those guys that you could probably get them in anything. You could probably put Johnny Depp or Robert Downey Jr. on some sort of workout program. They could possibly have played Hobbs in Fast and Furious 7.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. When you said that, it made me think of about maybe 15, 18 years ago. I met Samuel L. Jackson. He was at a coffee place.
Example.
And I walked in there and I saw him and he was sitting by himself and I just walked to him and I said, "How you doing, sir?" And he said, "Hi." And he said, "Do I know you?" I said, "No." I said, "I just wanted to tell you you really appreciate everything you've done in this genre of film." And he said, "Oh, well, thanks." I said, "Why do you think you work so much?" And he said one thing. He said, "I love acting and acting loves me."
Nice.
I've always loved that.
That's a good answer.
So when people talk about acting, they say, "Well, I'm just doing it for now, just a gig, or I'm working as a bartender and I'm acting when I get a chance." It's not a get a chance kind of job.
Yeah.
Acting is all or none.
Yeah.
You put both feet in. You don't put a toe in the water.
Exactly.
It's not the field for those people. It's just
I think a lot of people mistake the all or none, because I completely agree, and I think they mistake all or none as far as all is not synonymous with working all the time.
Absolutely.
For me, if I'm not auditioning or at a gig or doing something for acting, I'm thinking about it or thinking about a way to make it better. So if
you're writing.
Or I'm writing, or I'm doing something towards the all part of the all or none. If they're, again, no disrespect, if they're a bartender or a server or personal trainer, they need to remember, keep focus on the prize.
Absolutely.
They're doing that to act, to fulfill that all part of the all or none.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people kind of start drifting into, comfort, and then the all or none, they kind of forget the all or none. And
Absolutely.
I always, because I came from an ER physician world, I always compare it to being a physician. My dad couldn't go into medical school half-assed.
No, you don't do it that way.
And
you have to be all in.
It's all in. Obviously, there's, life and family and, things that need to wiggle, but you can't half-ass.
No. You had to jump in.
Yeah, there's no MD there's no like MD 1/half.
Right,
it's you're a doctor.
You're a doctor, period. Now, what about in the future? Are there any great actors, actresses, or directors that you would like to work with? Like you could pick the
kid in me.
Yeah, the ones that you would love to work with.
The kid in me needs to work with the things that influenced me would be like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, because that's what I grew up watching.
Right.
The kid action hero rocked Dwayne Johnson in me. The guy that's starting to appreciate the craft of acting and the art aspect of it. Not to say those guys don't have the art and craft.
Right.
Look at Creed. Stallone's come so far. Right. But I would love to work opposite of somebody like Robert Downey Jr. or Hugh Jackman. I'd kill to work with, because he emulates, or he is what I would like to emulate as far as a career. No musicals. I won't do those ever again. Right. But he emulates. I mean, 1 minute he can play the Wolverine. Next minute he can play a tap dancing musical guy
easily.
So that is somebody I'd like to work with, because, like you said earlier in the opening, I'm realizing why reinvent the wheel? Suck the knowledge from these people. Why what has worked for them, and that's what I think a lot of young actors should do. Is the people they want to work with is see their brand or the thing that worked for them. Hugh Jackman's a tall, lean guy he has way better hair, but he's got muscles.
Exactly.
And
he's fit, and he has talent.
And he has talent. And so I'm like, okay, that was something I can work with. I'm not looking at Robert Downey Jr., he's a smaller, so any one of those guys. I look at it now, the kid in me, when I would have first answered that right off the bat, Stallone or Schwarzenegger. Right. That's still the answer. But now I look at, God, anybody that's doing well that I could learn from is kind of my answer now. Is my fantasy ones would be anybody.
What about director? Which director would you like to work with?
The kid in me answer, I like Peter Berg. He does a lot of action. The way he does action is really fun. Quentin Tarantino would be great.
I think he'd be great, man. Yes.
Because I watch. He seems like he'd be fun because it would you just go home. There'd probably be a whole entire 8-hour days of what the hell just happened.
Right.
And I think he'd be kind of the guy, and I've seen a lot of behind the scenes on, I just blanked on the John Travolta movie he did way back when.
Oh,
with
Pulp
Uma
Fiction?
Thurman. Yeah, God. Yeah. With Uma Thurman and Pulp Fiction, where you'd see the behind the scenes, and he was sweating behind the camera because he was so involved with the scene.
He's real.
And that's fun. I mean, yeah, I think you can always have an issue with people's personal lives, but what they're doing on set or at work, that's what matters. And
it really does.
I think he'd be entertaining. He'd be
I think so too.
Fun. And I mean, I go into all those stories or all those hypotheticals, just going. You hear stories, you don't hear stories, but it's how it works for me.
Absolutely.
And he and Peter Berg would be fun for sure.
Now, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? When you come back on this show or come back on the television show and we say, okay, we got back on here Jeff Bosley, and I'll play a clip of this from 5 years ago, and I say, now remember this, and now look at you now. Where do you see this conversation going in 2022? Let's say 6 years, 2022. Mm-hmm. I say, well, Mr. Bosley, welcome back. Glad to have you and your wife here. Heard about your new baby. Congratulations.
I like where you're going so far.
No, exactly. So I need
this in writing.
Absolutely. I would say I heard about the new baby and the new dog and the parakeet. So fantastic. I'll look forward to coming and seeing you guys out in Rancho Palos Verdes. So please let me know when the barbecue will be. So,
I like it.
So what's been going on with you?
I would like to say retrospectively, when I was here 6 years ago, everything I thought of or wanted to do worked, and the things that didn't work I learned from quickly.
Absolutely. So not to repeat the same mistake.
And I would like to think that the resilience, and since you've known me, the resilience has sometimes been at a cost, and so
But the great thing is you just that though. You are resilient.
Yeah.
That you're not taking no for an answer,
yes.
and that you believe in yourself, and that all of us who love and believe in you believe that you can do it.
Yeah. And I would like, I'd like to, all the little things. At the end of the day, I always say this, is I would just kill to pay the bills and do what I love.
Right.
All the other stuff is awesome and fun. I love doing fan stuff. It's so rewarding. I see kids when they see Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck as Ben. I mean,
Absolutely.
I see kids looking, their eyes light up. I want to provide that for
the
children.
Same feeling.
Don't get me wrong. I'd love to come back to the show in 6 years with a driver.
Right, exactly.
Because the drive sucked today.
Right.
All those all the nice little incidentals.
Right.
We'll
have someone pick you up.
Exactly.
We'll have someone pick you up.
Somebody pick me up.
We'll sing a Uber limo for you.
Somebody pick me up at my house in Montana.
Absolutely. And fly you in.
My assistant that looks uncannily like Pepper Potts.
Right.
That's the gravy.
Absolutely.
If you will. But yeah, I would hope the answer would just be everything paid off.
Right. And do you see in yourself, do you believe that you're truly worthy of success?
Yes.
That's a great answer.
I said to my mom, and it's weird because of my upbringing and kind of my military background, ironically, is it's hard to be, there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence.
Right.
I said this to my mom and I caught myself, and it came out so quick I didn't really think about what I said, but I said, I think I'd be a great celebrity because my passion, and I want to go back to small film schools and pass on my knowledge and what I would do with this. I'd use it all for good, not evil.
That's all a good thing. That's all a good thing.
And that's at the end of the day.
Now, what about this, Jeff? How can people contact you? Do you have any social media platforms?
Everything somehow I've owned. Everything is Welcome to Boz, like the play on the Welcome to Oz.
So it's WELCOMBOZ?
Mm-hmm. And then the only things are, or Jeff Bosley. Somehow I've gained proprietorship on everything. It's all Welcome to Boz, hashtag Welcome to Boz.
That's on Instagram, on
Facebook, Twitter. My personal site is jeffbosley.com, but then that will quarterback you to everything else that happens to also be.
And that's JEFFBOSLEY.com.
Right. Yep, and I'm highly, highly active on that because I want people to know along the journey that I interacted with them.
Fantastic.
I'm not pompous and out of the loop.
Absolutely. Well, what can we say? We had amazing, great, talented, artistic, business-minded Jeff Bosley with us. Jeff, I want to thank you for being with us.
Sir,
you made our day here. So if you want a great actor, you want a great person, he's a great motivational speaker also, Jeff Bosley's your man. Well, this is Dr. Levi. I want to thank you again for joining us on the show and remind you, of course, that Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I appreciate that. Be a part of the Dr. Levi family like Jeff is, of course. And know and understand that you are worthy. And as always, be kind to the veterans. Those men and women are the true heroes of America. You want to talk about superheroes, the Avengers, DC Comics, Batman, Superman. Look at any veteran. They're the superheroes, like Jeff Bosley, of course. So I want to thank you again for being a part of our show. And remember, the universe is conspiring for you. Have a great day. This is Dr. Levi. Bye.